Welcome to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista, probably the most entertaining marketing podcast you're going to put in your ear. I'm Vin, the associate producer here at Stirista. The goal of this podcast is to chat with industry leaders and get their take on the current challenges of the market, and we'll have a little fun along the way. In today's episode, Vincent and Ajay chat with Ian Johnson, the Global COO at Kinesso. He talks about how his role makes company visions happen and how a start in engineering eventually led him to a career in strategy. AJ takes his kids to see elephants, and Vincent is excited to visit the Alamo. Give it a listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's another episode of Stirista's The Marketing Stir. I'm rocking Stirista gear today. It's not every day I do it. I was like, I'm just going to wear this shirt. It's warm. Why not? So good to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, I, of course, am one of your hosts, Vincent Petrofessa, the Vice President of B2B Products and Partnerships here at Stirista. First, Stirista, who are we? You must be wondering. Well, maybe you already know us because you have so many amazing listeners. Stirista, we are a marketing technology company. We focus on identity. We have our own business-to-business, business-to-consumer databases. We help customers utilize those databases to get new customers. We have our own DSP. Email me, vincent@stirista.com. That is how confident I am that I can help. I just gave you my email. The other thing, and I say it all the time, that I'm confident in is A, our amazing listeners, and B, my co-host, ladies and gentlemen, from San Antonio, my CEO, Mr. Ajay Gupta. What's going on, Ajay?
Hey, Vincent, pretty exciting here. Looks like we will be seeing each other next week. So
that is
should be good times.
That is exciting. And thank you for saying that. I am always excited to come out there and see the team, have a little fun, talk some business. I get to see the Alamo in San Antonio every time I go there. I'm just kidding. I only went once. That's all you need to go. It's just one time, but it's good to come down there. What else is new?
Were you happy to see the Alamo, or was it a little disappointing?
Well, it was, it's there. I know it was history. It wasn't disappointing. I'm glad I saw it. It's one of those things. There was one time I was in Denmark and everyone said, you have to go see the statue of this mermaid, this little girl. She's a mermaid and it's a big thing. And I saw it. I was like, it's just like a 3-foot statue. Wasn't that exciting? It's just a 3-foot statue. And I think people wrote on it. But anyway, it wasn't quite that disappointing as the mermaid. Sorry to our people in Denmark listening. But, I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, that was my feeling when I saw the Alamo. It's a cool structure, but it's not quite the fort that I was expecting in my head, like a European fort.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't a fort. That's a good way of describing it. Any plans for the weekend?
The usual. Got a couple of tennis matches, but we are doing something fun in Fredericksburg. There is a elephant preserve that I'm taking the kids to. So it's you can pet elephants and bathe them and whatnot. So,
oh wow!
We've been planning this for a while, so it's finally happening on Sunday.
You just don't get to do that in New York City. That's just a whole different thing here. They don't have like a pet the rat exhibit. I would not do that.
Well, I think the cost for the rent for elephants would be too high in New York.
Could be, just as the rent is high, everywhere in New York City. I am seeing my mother-in-law. She's coming to stay with us. So that is fun. Anyway, what is fun is our next guest. I'm so glad we have this next guest on the podcast. AJ, you and this next guest, you go way back, but I'm just meeting him the last couple of weeks, and I am so intrigued by this gentleman here. And I love the company too, Canesso, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you might have heard of that. If not, you're hearing about it now. Please welcome the Global COO of Canesso, Ian Johnson. What's going on, Ian?
Thank you, Vincent. Yeah, plenty of stuff. Yeah, I was interested with your tourist tales and kind of the disappointment. I'm from the UK, and I remember the first time I went to Stonehenge, these druid built stones in the middle of nowhere, and you stand miles away from it. You can peer at it, and it's just big stones piled on top of each other. And they built a freeway right by it, so it kind of spoils the ambience a little bit. But that was interesting.
Yeah. It's always been when I did that same tour. I did kind of Bath and I did Stonehenge, and you're right. It takes away from it when you're looking at it, and then there's a 1996 Ford Taurus driving by, and you're like, wait a minute, this
Yeah.
isn't. And it's it's 2017 when I went. What are you still doing with a Taurus from '96? But I get it. I get it. It's so glad you're joining us, Ian. For people who are listening, can you tell us about Canesso? I want to get that right off the bat because you're doing some amazing things there. So please tell the audience about it.
Yeah, so Kinesso is the technology company for IPG Group. So we develop the technology solutions that are leveraged by the different agencies and their clients within the group. And we have a kind of a build and partner approach to that. So we work with some of the biggest ad tech and martech companies in the space. And we've built a solution that helps stop data sitting in silos, so your planning applications can pass it to your audience solutions and kind of vice versa. So a lot of that is about automation, making things work seamlessly. But we also have some cool IP in terms of how we analyze audiences, how we optimize campaigns and stuff. So yeah, it's a pretty cool job to have. I'm the COO there. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, my background's kind of product and engineering, but as a COO, I get to have a broader view across the business. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I want to get into that because being a global COO, you're probably sleeping 2 hours a day because you're probably on calls all over the world. But Ian, talk to us about just a day in the life, some of your roles and responsibilities as COO at Canesso.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a fairly classic kind of CEO, COO setup that we have inside Kinesso. My boss, the CEO, Arun Kumar, his job is to set the vision and be the outward kind of facing voice for the company and kind of really kind of be that inspirational leader that he really is. And my job's really to make a lot of that vision happen. The day-to-day stuff, most of my time is focused on the solution set that we have. So what are we going to build, how we partner, how we integrate, where we're going, kind of deliver against that. And then also on the services, so we have a big services team on the product and engineering side. We're about 500 people or so, and on the services side, it's 600 or so. Basically, leveraging those solutions that we deliver to deliver outcomes for our partners. So that's kind of a lot of the day-to-day that I have managing that product and services organization.
And Ian, one of the questions we'd love to ask is kind of how you got into this field, how you got into this business. Did you study engineering in college? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I'm a real geek. I stole a former boss's saying, which was basically engineer by training, geek by nature. I definitely fit into that kind of profile. And so I studied electronic engineering at university, did a lot of kind of computer science, went into telecom. So I did cell phone designs, designing cell networks. And I did that for like 20 something years and went all over the planet with it. Company brought me out to the States, which was a lot of fun. Set up networks across the globe, and I just learned a lot. And I morphed from the engineering side into kind of more services, into marketing, into strategy. So I've got a fairly kind of broad kind of perspective of things, which was really, really useful. And then, in the strategy unit, I decided I wanted to be a CEO. And I remember my boss telling me, "You'll never be a CEO." So I thought, screw you, I'll set up my own company and be a CEO. And so I did that, managed to get some VC funding, and then got completely addicted to the startup buzz. The first startup I did was, I worked for a mobile carrier at that time, and suddenly it was all about advertising. How can you monetize your inventory through mobile advertising? And there weren't too many players doing it at that time, so I set up a company to do just that. Found some people who knew advertising inside out. Had them kind of co-found the company with me, and really got addicted to startups. So made some money, lost some money, got to ring the bell on the Nasdaq. So a lot of fun.
And Kinesso didn't always exist until recently. So how does, what was the origin for it, and how does it fit into the current org structure?
Yeah, so yeah, as I say, I was doing startups, and then I did one that I actually lost a fair bit of money with. So my wife insisted, give up startups for a while, get yourself a proper job. And as luck would have it, I don't know if anyone was kind of overhearing, but I got a call from a recruiter, and they were hiring for Cadrian, which was the at the time programmatic unit of media brands. And so I came in and took a kind of a product job inside that, and it was basically delivering solutions for internal company people. At that time, it was a very small company from a billings point of view, and we started getting our own unique voice, developing our own unique IP, and made it bigger and bigger. That unit, we basically went into media brands and become the data and technology unit within inside media brands, and that got bigger and bigger, and suddenly it was big enough to be a standalone company supporting the rest of IPG. So it was really an evolution out of that company that I joined 10 years ago, and worked closely with Arun Kumar, who's, as I say, a great visionary, got a great view in terms of kind of where we should be going, and really helped him deliver against that vision. So it's been quite a journey, I have to say.
And what does the ideal client look for Kinesso, or is it primarily serving internal agencies?
No, so we work very closely with the clients, right? That at the end of it, they have a business problem they're trying to solve, and the bit that we bring is technology. And as you know, running Stirista, it's a very it can be challenging for non-technologists to really kind of understand it. So we really work with the clients to kind of understand what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we can deliver better results. But it's always comes to the proof in the pudding at the end of the day. Let us show you kind of how it can kind of grow. Obviously we love all of our clients. We love everyone. However, some clients are more driven by just get me cheap inventory. I want a lower CPM each and every year. And actually, our focus is more about getting better outcomes, more outcomes more quickly, more cheaply. And if you have to pay a little bit more on inventory to do that, but you close the sale faster and cheaper overall, then our view that's a better thing. So, clients who are curious, clients who are keen to try new stuff, clients who are not scared by the technology are obviously the clients that we resonate best with.
And Ian, you touched upon it a little bit when you were kind of talking about almost in the birth of Canesso there, but can you talk about Canesso's role within the ad tech, martech ecosystem?
Yeah. So as I say, we have a build and partner approach, and what you have is you have really smart individuals who formed a company like yourselves, and you're trying to solve a particular problem, and that's great. And having specialists work on a particular problem really gets to a kind of a good solution for that. But it can land to kind of data islands. There's this little silo of data over here, and there's a little silo of data over here, and what the definition of a campaign or a tactic in this platform can be different to how it moves. So what we have focused on is breaking down the silos. So if you have permission, you should be able to use data, whether you're in the planning function, the audience function, or whatever. The challenge is, everyone has a data dictionary. How the trade desk define things is different to how you guys define things, is different to how Google kind of define things. So you need a way to kind of translate between those things. How the clients, how they look at their taxonomy of their product offerings, and what success looks like to them. Again, they have kind of different definitions. So being able to programmatically transfer the lexicon between those things so that you can map according to the platform you're in. Those are some of the problems that we've kind of done and then solved, should I say. And then the other kind of component is that optimization piece, right? Because, within the Stirista platform, you can optimize very closely in terms of how you're delivering within the Stirista cloud, within the walled garden of Google. They do a good job, but overall, should I be putting more money into the Google or the inventory and campaigns activated through Stirista? So having a view of above that you can kind of reassign across those things, those are some of the solutions that we have. Obviously, working closely with the agencies such as media brands, that they have particular approach how they go about media planning, as an example. And again, we help them codify it in solution sets. So that those are some of the things that kind of we take on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. And AJ talked to you about some of the ideal types of customers, but how would you say, and we're always curious about this too here at Stirista, how are you say you're able to measure, and whether you're meeting the needs of your customers?
Yeah. So I think that's one of the benefits of being inside a agency environment within IPG, because they have a lot of structure in terms of how they solicit feedback from their clients. They have regular satisfaction surveys that they have from the customers, so you can see it's improving, it's getting worse where it is. So obviously there's that kind of component that we can kind of tap into. On the Canesso side, we've got a strong client success team, so they again kind of really help have regular meetings with the customers, so we can really understand in terms of what they like, what they don't like. And then we use the usage stats on the platforms. What are they using? How they this feature that we thought was going to reduce the number of clicks to do a particular time, did it really? So it's things like that which again, okay, we're on the right track, or we're not on the right track.
So Ian, with the pandemic, we obviously haven't had a chance to meet, which under normal circumstances, I'm sure we would have run into each other at a conference by now. But what are some of the areas within the company that have also been affected, and what have you changed to keep operating efficiently?
Yeah, it was kind of shocking. I remember one day, we were in the office in San Francisco, and we heard, they were thinking about changing it. Next, it's complete lock home, go home, kind of thing. And I don't know about things on your side, but it's a big global operation, and holy crap, IT really stepped up to the plate. Obviously, I'm good friends with the CIO in the company, so I've got a lot of time for the guy. But his whole team kind of really stepped up. In some corners of the globe, in India, the office folk had desktops. They didn't have laptops, so suddenly we had to get laptops so people could work from home. Once we did that, they didn't necessarily have kind of Wi-Fi connectivity. Okay, great, we need to find a solve for that. We had dimensioning issues with the Teams setup that we had. We actually migrated to Teams from Skype, so there was a lot of stuff done. And I remember when we were getting into the quarterly roadmap cycle. As part of that, we actually measured sprint velocity. How much did we actually get done against kind of what we were planning? And it was shocking to me, quarter after quarter, actually the productivity didn't change. It truly is quite amazing to me. There was a lot of the social kind of components. So we had like virtual happy hours. We were really trying to recreate some of the environments where we could kind of just chat with our colleagues. So that, I think those are a lot of the kind of the positive stuff that really worked. It took us a while to learn that, it's okay to have camera off days. Initially it was, you must be on camera, we want to see you. But sometimes, it's just a bad hair day and you just don't want to turn the camera on. I seem to be having more of those as I get older anyway. So yeah, it's been quite a learning. So it's been really, I've been really impressed with the team and how they've kind of managed the productivity, how we've managed the check-ins on stuff. As people are able to travel, we actually opened up the US offices last week to enable some kind of meetings. I have noticed that some of the more difficult conversations and as well as whiteboarding, that there's been a bunch of things that just stacked up, and it has been really, really useful to kind of start the kind of meeting in person, to have those difficult conversations, have those brainstorming sessions. So I do believe the kind of hybrid way of working, where you're no longer expected to be in the office 5 days a week. I really think it's going to be much more mixed mix between the virtual and the in presence. I think it's actually been a really good learning experience.
Yeah, this morning our office internet was down, and we come in a couple of times a week, and it was very strange having a call on a regular conference line.
Yeah, that's right.
It's been about a year and a half where we'd all been doing this call, and it had always been on Zoom. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a changed world, but I agree with you. I'm also surprised by the productivity staying up across all companies, including our own. So,
Yeah, great.
and what are some of the other challenges in a pandemic aside that your clients are facing today that you keep hearing about?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I put it down to two, right? One's the perennial problem, right? If you're the chief marketing officer, your job is to drive growth. How can I get growth? And it's amazing how quickly and strongly the economy's kind of recovered. So everyone wants that share of voice. Everybody's trying to make sure that their stuff kind of stands out. So it's a perennial problem, and as media gets more and more fragmented, it's people turn to data and technology to kind of really get to the audience that you're trying to get to. That's a perennial problem. I think the new problem is the news about identity, regulator action. Those are the things that are kind of new from concerns that were new. They've been around for a year or so, I'd say. Good news that kind of Google delayed their announcements, but their change to deprecate the third-party cookie, but it's still top of mind for clients. And it's a really difficult thing to help people navigate through. Well, this is what that means. That announcement means that. So we've had lots of client outreach and lots of kind of client education systems so they can understand what's going on, what our approach is to do, and how we're evolving our identity solution to make sure that we can have addressable audiences in the future as the regulatory changes and third-party cookie changes take effect.
And you've been in the industry a long time, so was it always the case with the regulations, or is that something you've seen come up more recently under scrutiny on how data companies and media companies operate?
Yeah, so it has been changed, and the GDPR I think was the kind of first kind of real wake up call. I mean, in the good old days, which aren't so many years ago, we really separate out between the MarTech world where things were driven off of email addresses or postal addresses and so forth. And then there was a whole different world, which is the ad tech side, where it was all about pseudo anonymous. You were tying it back to a cookie identifier, such a cookie which was temporal and would disappear over time. And so there was kind of very different rules on one side of the fence versus the other. But as soon as you get to GDPR, and all of a sudden there's as much scrutiny on the cookie side of the world as there was on the kind of the email and email address side of the world. A lot of those barriers. Okay, you've got to protect the data just as well. You've got to make sure you've got the consent to be using it for the purposes. It's not only having the consent, but proving you have the consent. So the whole kind of audit trail of stuff. If they want to revoke that, how do you make that happen quickly? So those are changes, and I think the bit that is difficult is no law is perfect, right? So there's a lot of interpretation of what the law means, what is happening in California now, other states, what's happening in China. Is a lot of holy crap, how do you make sense of all of it? So I think there's going to be a lot of fragmentation caused by some of this regulatory inconsistency happening across the globe, and I'm hopeful that it will reach a point of consolidation and consensus in the future to make things easier. But at the moment, it's very fragmented, and that's a bit that I think is different.
And Ian, given your title as Global COO, and given what we were just talking about as far as international relations, what is Canesso's international presence? And talk to me about that, and also what's your strategy for international growth?
Yeah. So so we have product engineering service shops in about 12 countries. So we have people we employ directly ourselves, Canesso Solutions, in about 12 markets. We work very closely with Matterkind. That's our sister agency that drives a lot of the addressable media activation, and we pair a lot of their solutions. They're present in about 30 markets, so our solutions get to be used heavily for those. And then there's the other IPG companies who use different parts of our solution, and they're in about 60 markets. So we're truly global from a point of view of who we serve. The difference, though, is that as our products have reached greater and greater maturity, we're putting more of them directly in the hands of the client. And so as soon as you move from that kind of managed service environment to a kind of more self-service environment, then suddenly you need local language support. You need to have turnaround times for tickets and stuff that's much kind of reduced. So we're now at that point of evolution where we're putting more into local markets. So that's part of the transition we've started. It'll take us a few years to kind of get there. As you may imagine, we're focusing on some of the bigger markets first to have that kind of presence. Obviously, we're leveraging the assets of Axiom and Matterkind, who are our sister agencies, all reporting to Arun Kumar, to make that easier. But it's that transition, and what we do globally versus what we do locally. How do we localize part of the solution set? Those are some of the things that we're managing. We have big global hubs for the back end service delivery piece, so we'll just kind of grow those out. But when it means talking to a local client or helping a local client through, then you need local language support and closer in this same time zone. So that's the evolution we're going through currently.
And Ian, I was reading about a new community that you had launched there at Kinesso called Canvas.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me a little bit about that? And for those people who are listening, that's Canvas. Talk to me a little bit about that and how it kind of fits into Canesso's strategy.
Yeah. So as I say, I think we're in a pretty unique spot in the ecosystem, right? We're trying to enable MarTech and AdTech to work seamlessly together, and we've got some pretty cool solutions that kind of help make that work. And what we've found is that when we work with companies, whether they're our clients who've got their own tech stack, or whether it's companies such as yourselves who we're trying to integrate into our solution, having robust set of APIs that you can kind of expose just makes that whole kind of process easier. So what we're doing is exposing that, trying to create a developer community. And I think if you look at some of the other kind of developer communities that folks like Google have, it's really just about working with the Google stuff, and then you have something completely different when you want to work with Facebook as an example. And I think it's pretty unique having a solution that kind of enables you to touch more broadly a wider set of solutions so that you can have that kind of seamless end-to-end. So we think the developer community will be pretty unique in that area. We had a soft launch last year. We had 3 companies that we signed up. And we've been slowly expanding that. We're now reaching to a point of maturity where we can open up even more broadly. So that's what we've been announcing.
And you've worked at a lot of companies, startups, like you mentioned, and billion-dollar brands. Has there been an experience or two that's really shaped your career, or that's been very instrumental for your career?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few to call out. I mean, I was very fortunate early in my career. I had this great boss, and he was like a real mentor. I mean, it wasn't just you screwed up here, you did that. He really helped me understand, here are your core assets, and here are things that are kind of holding you back. And he just had a way of kind of bringing it down to help me focus on the stuff where I needed to focus. I was very kind of fortunate in that regard. I've worked for big companies and then decided, okay, I want to do my own startup. And so that kind of moment when I got to ring the bell on NASDAQ was like validation that all the sacrifices I kind of put my family through, self-funding startups, was kind of worthwhile, and that was kind of a big deal. And then when we launched Canesso a couple of years ago, it kind of took me back to when I first started at Cadre. in the small product team. It was just a handful of us at that time. And I remember, people said, this is an agency. We're not a product company. What are you trying to do product inside an agency for? And again, the point that we'd reached to a maturity where IPG believed enough in us that we could spin out as their own company within IPG Group. That was very rewarding as well. It was kind of validation of the work of the team that everybody put in, and Arun Kumar's vision. It was kind of complete validation of kind of what we'd set out to do. So that was really, really, really heartening.
That's awesome. Ian, one of our staple questions is about LinkedIn. So with your job title, I'm sure you get a lot of unsolicited messages and connection requests. So, what is a message that gets you excited, that gets you to respond, and what's one that you really don't like or is a pet peeve?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've lived all over the planet over many years. I've been in different corners, and I like to connect with people and go out and have a few beers, but I'm lousy at following up and staying in connection as I kind of move out. So I love the emails when it's somebody you worked with years ago. I saw this post from you. I saw that comment, and it kind of really just cheers me up that, oh, great, yeah. And so that is stuff, because I am so lousy at kind of maintaining my own network. So thank God that other people don't have the same deficiency that I have, and I really look forward to those. The ones that I hate is very similar to that. Surprisingly, it's when people who you don't really know pretend, oh, we had a great, yes, and by the way, I work for this company, can you buy our product? It's like, just come clean, right? Start there. Don't try to build on a relationship. Well, I met you once in an elevator. So that's the thing that I worry about. But
I like that answer. It's like, Ian, my old friend. It's like, I don't even know who you are. You met me at a booth for like 3 minutes. Oh, yeah. Ian, talk to me about this as we're getting to the close here. Let's get to know you a little more personally. I know AJ knows you and we've gotten to know you, but tell our audience there, what are some of the things you enjoy doing in your personal time? Hopefully people are also watching this when we put it out. Ian has, it looks like 3 guitars in the background. So that there must be some music. Tell us what you like doing in your spare time, some hobbies, interests.
Yeah, I must admit, I said earlier, right? I'm a geek, so I love trying to understand how stuff works, and I try to stay ahead of quantum computing. How are we going to save the planet from greenhouse gases? So I consume shitloads of kind of YouTube videos trying to explain this to me in language I can understand. So I really kind of geek out on stuff. My kids are all grown up now. I've been married 33 years, so we just like family time as well. So it was really hard in the pandemic when we couldn't go out to restaurants or pubs and just kind of socialize with friends and family. So that's the thing that I do. We'll spend many evenings doing. You saw the guitars. I in my teenage years, I taught myself to play the guitar, which I wouldn't recommend. I would recommend getting a tutor, but I loved it for a while. I had my own band, and I was determined my kids would learn how to play music. So I remember sitting them down in the morning when they were little kids, like play a bit of guitar and a sing along. And then my daughter, I think she was like 4 at the time, said, "Daddy, can you not sing to me now?" And it kind of just broke my heart. So I became like less enthusiastic about music in general. But I kind of dabbled away, and then I had a neck injury, and I had a C8 nerve damage. So I couldn't really hold my 2 little fingers on my left hand, which was pretty devastating. I couldn't really play kind of guitar. And then it's one of the miracles of COVID, right? I stayed at home, I could do my physio, I was sleeping in my bed every night, and all of a sudden I could move my fingers again. So I've relearned my love affair with guitars. So I'm really enjoying it at the minute, I got to be honest with you.
Oh, wow. It's just to have it come back to you like that. That's amazing. Does your daughter like singing? You're singing now?
I don't know. I don't. She may have learnt manners over the years and been a lot more diplomatic about what her dad is good or good not. But Yeah, her fiance is also learning to play. He's learning to play the guitar, so we've been kind of jamming out. But yeah, she's very diplomatic, and I don't know if it's because she likes it or she is just being diplomatic. But,
Yeah, I experienced just today as I took my 4-year-old to school. You could walk them in, with the mask on, of course, you could walk them into this one area. But my son was like, Dad, do you mind? Like, you don't have to walk me in. And I was like, what?
yeah.
Like already, I was like, isn't this when it's like you're a teenager? This is supposed to happen. Like, why are you doing this to me now? So that was
Yeah.
my kind of stop singing moment right there. But Ian,
I
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to add a story for what it's worth. But
Please.
when we first came to the States, and my daughter, I think she's like 2 or 3, and at Canesso, we had somebody mind her for a while, and for a couple of weeks, got home, and my daughter said, "You guys, you just got to chill." And it's like, okay, we've been in the States too long. We're going home. So
yeah, just chill out, Dad. Yeah,
chill there.
Just chill. You're like, all right, this is too much American TV you're watching right there. So, Ian, final thought on, and I want to get your thoughts on. We talked about it before, and I think it's a good way to kind of close this. Your thoughts on cookies, identity. I know that's a wide topic there, but I'd love to hear your final thoughts on just those 2 areas.
Yeah, I think the easy way to talk about it is the solution that we've developed and are launching, Key, which is the Kinesso intelligent identity. And the thing is, as I was saying earlier, that there isn't a universal solution that is being accepted by the industry as the replacement. Some companies are out there building solutions based on emails. Some have more probabilistic techniques in terms of how you kind of get to it. Others are trying to have locally stored objects. There's a whole raft of kind of different solutions out there. So what that means is that in some cases you're sacrificing reach, so you're not going to be able to have such a large addressable audience as perhaps you enjoy today. In other cases, you're going to sacrifice some accuracy. So you may not be talking to exactly the consumer that you thought you were talking to in the past. So what we've tried to do with Kinesso Intelligent Identity is to really work with multiple partners in the space using these different techniques, be able to dedupe across these different techniques, and then filter the audience depending on the accuracy or reach that you trade off that you're prepared to make. So that's the kind of vision of kind of where we're getting there. We've just launched the solution, so we've this is not the complete vision delivered, but it's a pretty robust solution that allows us to reach the individuals again through technology that we've built, but also partnered with some of the leading companies in the space.
No, that's amazing. I'm glad I asked. I would have been remiss if I didn't ask that. But Ian, this has been awesome. We really appreciate your time here at the Marketing Stir. I look forward to meeting you in person, having a beer, having a cup of coffee with you. And thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Ian Johnson. He is the Global Chief Operating Officer of Canesso. Be sure to check them out. Ladies and gentlemen, Canesso. I am Vincent Petrofessa. That's Ajay Gupta. This has been another episode of The Marketing Stir. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista. Please like, rate, and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, email us at themarketingstir@stirista.com. And thanks for listening.